G'day, welcome to 5 Minutes at 5 with myself. Have you started to find a bit of a rhythm in all that's going on with the coronavirus? I don't think I have yet. It seems like every day I'm trying to discover something new. It actually feels like I'm going against the tide, not going with the tide. And don't get me wrong, there's some things that I've really enjoyed and I'm loving doing these videos. And at times when the computer crashes, it's frustrating. But I'm enjoying it, and the boys were home for the first time yesterday and the day before, and that was great, and yet it was also frustrating. It's hard to find a rhythm at the moment. A number of years ago I was into kayaking, and I was kayaking down in Perth, if you know the Swan River, down at Narrows Bridge and the Raffles Hotel. So I started at the Raffles Hotel and I was paddling across over to, I think it's a boys' I don't know, some kind of place, Cadets or something, and then down to Narrows. And I had a great time. By the time I got down to Narrows, I said, well, I better go back. But what I didn't realise was that whole time I was going with the tide. And then all of a sudden, to get back, I was going against the tide. The tide had turned, and now it was hard. It was really hard. And what was happening was I was moving further and further out into the river. So I was in the middle of nowhere. I was paddling, but I was going nowhere. And I didn't know what I was going to do. But then I all of a sudden noticed something in front of me. But before I tell you what I saw, let me read you a story. It's in Luke chapter 8. One day Jesus said to his disciples, "Let's go over to the other side of the lake." Now you need to remember the disciples were, a large majority of them were fishermen. They actually knew boating life, and that's the way they were. So they got into a boat and set out. As they sailed, they fell asleep. A squall came up on the lake, so the boat was being swamped, and they were in great danger. The disciples went and woke him up, saying, "Master, Master, we're going to drown." He got up and rebuked the wind, the raging waters, the storm subsided, and all was calm. "Where is your faith?" he asked his disciples. In fear and amazement, they asked one another, "Who is this? He commands even the winds and the water," and they obeyed him. I think earlier on in the week I said that one of the pictures in the Bible uses the imagery of ocean and sea as a representation of chaos. In this point, the disciples are experiencing chaos. What's happening? Who is this person that we're following? He's our teacher, but his actions are amazing and bewildering at the same time. There's an element of chaos. And Jesus says, "Where is your faith? He can control it." Well, to come back to my story, as I was paddling along, I fixed my eyes on the Raffles Hotel. That was my end point. That was my destination where I was going to. But that was way too far. That was the end point, but I needed something closer. So out in front, I could see these little, I think they're called buoys, the floating balls in the water. And I'd fix my eyes on the first one. Okay, it's green, and I'd paddle just to that buoy. The amazing thing about a buoy is, it's a bit like what I spoke about yesterday, something being anchored. It's tied down and locked to the ground under the water. And as the tides move, it moves with it, but it's stable. And so it was a fixed point for me to be able to move towards. So as I got to it, I'd hold on to it and take a breath. And then I'd look for the next buoy. But I wouldn't choose the buoy out here or out here. I'd choose the buoy that was in line with the raffles. So I'd go again, paddle and paddle. And sometimes it felt like I was getting nowhere at all. I'd get to the buoy and I'd hang on to the buoy, have a rest, have a break, check my fixed point. Where was it? The Raffles. I looked back, Narrows Bridge is getting further away, and I kept going. I don't know if we have the rhythm yet of what's happening. Maybe it's just like this, a tide, heading against the tide. Well, I hope you can find your fixed point, the thing that you look to help you get through this, day by day, hour by hour. This is the last recording for today, this week. I'll see you next week on Tuesday. Don't forget to hit subscribe, notifications, all that, so that you get the updates. Hope you find peace this week as you paddle along. Go well.